In our budget 4 years ago, we committed that by 2025, 1 in 10 cars sold in Canada would be electric. And then we got to work. We made sure that buying electric cars was more affordable. We invested in manufacturing and critical minerals, and now more Canadians are buying electric vehicles than ever before. We've reached our target 2 years ahead.
For years, Tesla has been the undisputed leader of the electric vehicle market. But what if I told you that everything is about to change? China has just struck a shocking deal with Mexico that could reshape the entire auto industry. This isn't just bad news for Tesla. It's a complete game changer. Chinese automakers have found a way to bypass US trade restrictions and flood the market with low-cost EVs. But how did this happen? And what does it mean for the future of electric cars in America? Let's break it all down. China's backdoor into the US market. For a long time, the US government has imposed heavy tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles to protect American manufacturers from foreign competition. These tariffs were designed to prevent Chinese automakers from gaining a foothold in the US market, shielding major American brands like Tesla, Ford, and General Motors. The goal was to ensure that domestic companies remained dominant in the EV industry without facing an influx of cheaper alternatives from China. However, China has now found a clever and completely legal way to bypass these trade barriers, and it all runs through Mexico. Instead of shipping EVs directly to the US, where they would be hit with steep tariffs, Chinese automakers are establishing manufacturing plants in Mexico. By assembling their vehicles there, they can take advantage of the US-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, which allows vehicles built in Mexico to enter the US tariff-free if they meet certain content and labor requirements. This loophole effectively opens the door for Chinese EVs to flood the American market without directly violating any trade restrictions. While the US government is actively trying to block Chinese electric vehicles from entering the country, many of them are still making their way onto American roads, just through a different route. Mexico, the new EV manufacturing hub. Mexico is rapidly becoming one of the most important countries in the global EV industry. Here's why. Lower costs. Labor costs in Mexico are significantly lower than in the US, making manufacturing much cheaper. Tax incentives. The Mexican government is offering massive tax breaks to encourage foreign automakers to set up factories. Trade agreements. The USMCA allows vehicles made in Mexico to enter the US without tariffs, making it an ideal production hub. Because of these factors, major Chinese brands like BYD, Chery, and Great Wall Motors are pouring billions of dollars into new factories in Mexico. BYD alone has committed over $600 million to a massive production facility that will churn out tens of thousands of EVs every year. China's EV price war. Would you buy an EV for half the price of a Tesla? That's exactly what China is betting on. A Tesla Model I starts at around $45,000, while a Model X costs over $55,000. Meanwhile, Chinese brands are gearing up to sell EVs in the US for under $20,000. That price difference is staggering. And it's not just about cheap labor. China controls nearly 75% of the global battery supply chain, including the production of lithium-ion batteries, which are the most expensive part of an EV. Unlike Tesla, which relies on external suppliers, Chinese automakers own their battery factories, cutting costs dramatically. They also use highly efficient manufacturing techniques that allow them to produce vehicles faster and cheaper than American companies. When you combine these factors with Mexico's low costs and tax incentives, it creates the perfect storm for rock-bottom EV prices. This is why BYD and other Chinese brands are expected to undercut Tesla by thousands of dollars in the next few years. How China plans to dominate the US EV market. Chinese EV brands like BYD, Chery, and NIO have one goal: total domination of the global EV market by 2030. And their strategy is already working. Controlling the supply chain, Chinese companies are quietly buying up lithium, cobalt, and nickel suppliers, ensuring they control the entire production process. This allows them to keep prices lower than their competitors. Expanding dealership networks. Many US dealerships are already signing contracts with Chinese EV manufacturers because they offer higher profit margins than traditional brands. If a dealer makes more money selling a BYD than a Tesla, they will push the Chinese brand, taking over the budget EV market. With their low prices, Chinese EVs could flood the US market, forcing Tesla and other automakers to slash their prices just to compete. If the US government doesn't take action soon, China could take over the EV market completely. Tesla's counterattack. Elon Musk knows that Tesla is in trouble, and he's not backing down. Tesla is working on a secret weapon, a brand new, ultra-affordable EV called the Model 2. This new model is expected to be Tesla's cheapest car ever, designed specifically to compete with Chinese EVs. Tesla is also investing billions into US-based battery production, hoping to reduce its reliance on China. At the same time, Tesla is lobbying Congress to introduce tougher restrictions on Chinese EVs entering the American market. But even if Tesla succeeds, there's still one major problem. China controls the raw materials needed to make EV batteries. The EV battery war. Can the US compete? Most people don't realize that the real battle in the EV war isn't about cars, it's about batteries. China dominates the global battery supply chain, controlling *60% of the world's lithium refining, *70% of the world's cobalt supply, * a massive share of the world's nickel production. Even if Tesla produces cheaper EVs, it still needs batteries, and if China decides to cut off lithium, cobalt, or nickel supplies, Tesla could be completely crippled. To combat this, the US government is rushing to develop new mining operations in Nevada, Arizona, and Canada. But mining takes time, years if not decades. Meanwhile, China is already producing batteries at record speed. If the US doesn't secure its own supply chain soon, it could lose the EV war before it even begins. Will the US ban Chinese EVs? The growing dominance of Chinese automakers has sparked intense debate in Washington. Some politicians are now calling for an outright ban on Chinese-made EVs, arguing that they pose a national security risk. Their main concern? Many of these vehicles are packed with smart technology and data collection systems, which could be used for surveillance. To counter this, some lawmakers are proposing higher tariffs on all Chinese EVs, blocking Chinese automakers from receiving US subsidies, a complete ban on Chinese EV imports. But if the US takes drastic action, it could trigger a full-blown trade war with China, one that could have major consequences for the global auto industry. Future of the EV industry is at stake. The fight for EV dominance has never been more intense. With Chinese automakers finding new ways to enter the US market through Mexico, Tesla, and other American brands are in serious trouble. The question now is, can Tesla and the US auto industry survive the Chinese EV invasion? Will the US government step in and ban Chinese electric vehicles? Or is the future of America's EV industry already lost? One thing is certain, this battle is far from over. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest stories shaping our world. You don't want to miss what's coming next.